magic of public speaking takes you to the top, no more dreaming. Makes you a world-class speaker. This a complete system, ain't nothing easier. I used to be shy, never had a clue. I didn't know what I could do. A little time, and you will see the magic of public speaking.
Welcome everybody to the Communication Lecture Series. I am your host, Adam Banks. Today we are going to be talking about another subject in interpersonal communication, and that is the nature of friendship. Now, friendship is unlike any relationship that we have because we can choose who our friends are, unlike any of our other relationships, like family, for instance. We can't choose who our family is, but we can choose our friends. I'm very excited to get into this topic and to talk about it. But before I do, let me just say that this is an interactive podcast, which means I want you to interact with me, the host. I want you to ask any questions that you have by posting them on the comment section on YouTube or Facebook. Please leave a comment, like, share, whatever you do on social media. Also, you can email your question, and I can read it on the show at communicationlectureseries@gmail.com. I did check the email, and we did have a question/comment on the email account. This is from Garland Hall. Garland says, Adam, you seem like you have a lot of friends. What's your secret? Well, Garland, I tell people this all the time. If you want friends, just be friendly. Just be friendly. You can't be mean and have a lot of friends. I don't really know if there's much more to it than that, but after listening to this lecture series, I'm going to go into detail with you about what it means to be a good friend and what the nature of friendship is all about. So hopefully after this lecture, you will be able to better understand, and I can better answer that question at the end of the lecture series. So sit back, relax, and enjoy, everybody, the nature of friendship. Now, we all probably have a friend or two. I've always heard the expression, you could count your true friends on one hand if you cut off 3 fingers. And the older I get, the more I'm learning that to be the case. Friends are very important to have. It's a blessing to have a friend. Friendship is a unique relationship. It's unlike any other relationship that we have in our lives. Our family, for instance, we're born into that family. We can't help who our family is. We can't choose our family. However, we can choose the people that we call our friends. For a lot of people, friends is just an extended family. They are people's family. So I'm really excited for this lecture because we're going to be talking about the friendship in our lives. Now, before we really dive into material, we have to look at the nature of friendship. The nature of friendship. In order to have a friend, you have to have a willingness to invest. That's going to take time. That's going to take energy. One of the most valuable things you can give a person in life is time. So in order to have a friend, you should make time to spend time with them, see how they are, check in on them. Willingness to invest. You might not want to talk on the phone to them, but in order to be a good friend, sometimes you should do that. You might not want to go accompany them to an event, but to be a good friend, sometimes you might have to sacrifice your time, energy, and what you don't like to that friend. So you have to invest in order to have a friend. Now, let's look at the emotional closeness of friendship. There are 2 types of emotional closeness when it comes to friends: the closeness through dialogue and the closeness through doing. Experts say that a lot of females bond closer through dialogue and a lot of males bond closer through doing. For instance, females tend to bond more when they can verbally speak to one another, have animated facial expressions, head movements. have an emotional response, face-to-face encounters, women feel that that's the way they can have emotional closeness, through dialogue. No, this isn't for all women. There are plenty of men too out there that need emotional closeness through dialogue. But experts say that men more likely have closeness through doing. They bond better when they do go out and do things together, like hunt and fish, play a sport together. Now, this is not saying that this is all women and this is all men. It could be either or. I'm just telling you which is more likely. Acceptance. In order to be a friend, you have to have acceptance. You have to accept a person for who they are. They might not be the same as you. They might not think the same way as you. On election day, they might go out and vote entirely different than the way you do. When you sit down to watch a sporting event, they're rooting for the opposite team of you. They might do some things that annoy you, get on your nerves, little nuances that just kind of irritate you. But in order to be a friend, we accept everything about this person. Now, there are some things that your friend you might not agree with and you frown upon, but you still accept this person for who they are. With people we don't know well, we often feel we need to put on our best face to impress them. With friends, however, we don't want to put up false fronts. If we feel low, we can act that way instead of faking cheerful. If we're upset, we don't have to hide it, or we shouldn't have to hide it in front of our friends. If someone dumped us, we don't have to pretend we're fine around our friends. They should be willing to accept your happiness, your joy, as well as your depression and heartache. In order to be a good friend, you have to be supportive. We expect friends to support us, don't we? Listen to our problems. You should be willing to listen to your friends' problems when they have an issue. How we respond is very, very important too. We don't want to seem like we don't care. We want to give them a response that is helpful, something that they can go out and benefit from. That's what a friend is for. Letting them know that they aren't alone, that we're here for them, is something that a friend should do. That is supporting your friend. You're giving them a support system, a shoulder to cry on. You should be available for your friends. That's another way you show support. Be available. Sometimes you should go out of your way to help a friend. Even if you have something you're doing, you should pull yourself away from it to go help a friend or be there for your friend. Yes, you're tired, you're exhausted, you've had a long day, but your friend calls you and really, really needs your support. You should make a sacrifice to be there and support them. Now, I understand there's situations to where you absolutely cannot be there, and that's fine. But if you can, you should. That's a way to show support for a friend. A lot of men come up with diversions. They'll say, well, to get your mind off of it, let me take you out for a few drinks. Women do the same thing. Girl, you no sense of staying at home crying. Let's go out and start dancing. I mean, that's just the way it is. And that's just what friends do. That's ways that you can show support. Now let's look at the development of friendship. There are two stages to the development of friendship. There is the growth stage, and there is the deterioration stage. So when a friendship first forms, that's what we're looking at now, the growth stages. What happens from the ground up? So the first stage of friendship is the initial meeting. Friends don't start off as friends. You have to meet first. And that's the first step of finding a friend. the initial meeting. We meet people in all different types of places: school, the gas station, the grocery store, maybe Walmart, the mall, at a ball game. But the initial meeting is the first step. The second step is standard social norms. So at first we tend to be polite and we limit personal disclosures to people when we first meet them. We're on our best behavior. We're not our true selves all the way with the voltage turned up yet. We are really abiding by the standard social norms. We're polite. We're saying all the right things. We're not saying anything out of the way. That's what happens when you first meet somebody. You're having a relationship with very standard social norms. When you first meet somebody at work, a coworker, you don't show them your true self right away. No, you both have standard social norms. The third step is finding common interest, values, and common ground. Friendship happens when there's a spark, and that spark can come from an interest, you share the same values, or you have common ground. Both of you may like basketball. Both of you may like shopping. That's an interest that you can share. That is where a spark can develop. You share the same values, maybe. Some of the things that you find important, so does the other person. Bam, there's a spark. Or maybe you just find common ground somewhere along the line. Something somewhere has drawn you to that person to where you're vibing with that person. The fourth stage is when you meet outside of a natural environment with that person. So when we meet a friend, starting off, we meet this person in a default environment like work or school. The moment you hang out of that environment, that natural environment that you're used to, that's a huge step into the development of friendship. That is a huge step forward, because when people are out of their regular environment, they start to show their true selves a little bit more. Their language changes, their body language changes, their actions change. So much changes. Just meeting outside of a natural environment. You might talk about things you normally wouldn't talk about, hear things, which could span into many different conversations, movies, music, relationships. The fifth stage usually stabilizes at casual, is what the fifth stage is. Stabilizing at a casual stage. And that's how most of the friendships in our lives are. Casual friends. Now, we only truly have a few close and I-thou relationship friends. We talked about the I-thou relationship in chapter 1. We don't have many of those. Most of our friendships are IUs, just casual friend, casual acquaintance. That's usually the fifth stage. Now, the sixth stage is where it grows. That's growth beyond the natural casual stage. That's the sixth stage. You start to share more intimate details about yourself. You start to feel more comfortable around this person, and you are feeling like they're becoming more than just a acquaintance. They're becoming a close friend. And then the seventh stage is where you start vocalizing and you put forth your trust in this person, and you're an official I-thou. And then, unfortunately, we have the deterioration stages when friendships fall apart. And yes, that's very sad, because when that happens, that's never fun to lose a friend. It's never fun. But the first stage of deterioration is usually abrupt. You could have done something to a friend to make them stop talking to you, or vice versa. Or they've done the unimaginable to you and you've just ended the friendship, or they've done something you did not agree with or believe in, so you dumped them as your friend. And then there's the natural decline, which is the opposite of abrupt. It's just a natural decline of deterioration. And that's how the majority of our friendships start to deteriorate, the natural decline. And that's okay, because it can be rebuilt. But sometimes we lose contact with people. We all have different lives going on. We all have different things happening: kids, family, friends, school, work, church, social lives. And sometimes geography plays a big role in that. And there's just a natural decline. But it can be rebuilt. You can always pick up the phone, go see somebody, write a letter, start that communication back. It can be rebuilt. People become more guarded through life when they lose friends, because they realize how tough it is to lose friends. Now let's look at the pressure on friendships. Like all human relationships, friendships are subject to internal tensions and external pressures. So let's look at the internal tensions. There is relational dialectics, which means that we all have different needs. Friendships can be strained when people have different needs. There could be tension, for instance, if Joe is bored and wants novelty, but his friend Andy is overstimulated and needs calming routines. When needs collide, friends should talk. It's important to be open about what you need and to be sensitive to what your friend needs. Diverse communication styles is another internal tension in friendships. When you have friends from different cultures, a lot of your communication can clash. There's a lot of things that Americans do that somebody from a different culture might find arrogant. For instance, in Japan, they're very modest people. And here in America, we like to go out and celebrate things, celebrate our accomplishments. So we're the opposite of modest here. And we might want to go out and celebrate getting into law school. So we tell our friends, hey, let's go out and celebrate me getting into law school. And your friend from Japan finds that very arrogant, because in his culture, they're very modest about that. So he did not get a good vibe from that. So does that make your friend wrong? No, nobody's wrong in this situation. There's just a diverse communication style and it clashes. So it's important to discuss communication styles, but nonetheless, it does cause an internal tension. Then there's sexual attraction. Being sexually attracted to a friend can cause some misunderstandings, and people might get to the point to where they're so sexually attracted to their friend they can't be a good friend anymore, because they have an ulterior motive to get with that person in a sexual manner, which is not being a good friend at this point. Then there is external pressures. So in addition to internal tensions, friendships may encounter pressures from outside sources. 3 such pressures are competing demands, personal changes, and geographic distance. Let's look at competing demands. Friendships exist with larger social systems that affect how they function. Our work and our romantic relationships tend to be woven into our everyday lives. So we may not have enough time or energy left to maintain friendships, even those that matter to us the most, because we've got so much other things happening. Like I said, jobs, kids, school. To avoid hurting friends, we should let them know we have to focus elsewhere and assure our friends that we are still committed to them. Then there is personal changes. I heard a quote one time: some friends are meant to stay in your life forever, while others are meant to make an appearance. So some friends are meant to be in your life forever, and some people aren't. And that's because we as human beings, we have growth in our lives and we have personal changes. So somebody that we used to hang out with at the age of 21 might not be the same person we want to hang out with at 25, because our morals and values have changed. We've become different people. And then there is the geographic distance, of course. And long distance relationships can be tough to maintain. It takes more time commitment, more appointment time commitment to actually talk with one another. It takes money to go out and visit somebody. And it's tough on the average person to remain friends with somebody far away when you don't get to see them in your everyday. The people who are in your everyday tend to be the closest to you. Okay, let's look at social media and friendships. Cyberbullying, text messages, online comments and rumors, embarrassing photos online, videos and fake profiles that are meant to hurt another person and are sent by emails or smartphones or posted on social networking sites. So people who are friends on social media are not as close as face-to-face friends. I don't even know if they can really be called a friend. I mean, I guess they can. You can still show support and communicate with people online, but it's still not as close as face-to-face. But cyberbullying happens a lot on social media. And it's important to be mindful of how you treat people on social media. Even though you can't see them, you need to be careful about how you communicate with people and avoid cyberbullying. There are some guidelines for communication between friends. The first is to engage in dual perspective, understand others from different perspectives. They might not think the same way as you, like the same sport as you, vote the same way you do, have the same religion as you. But instead of disliking them for that, you should understand, try to get to the bottom of why they feel the way they do. Maybe you could have a different perspective on it once you see their point of view. You don't have to cross over and believe the way they believe or start doing the things they do, but try to understand why they do it. You should communicate honestly with your friends. That is a huge guideline for being a friend. Communicate honestly. It's very important to be honest. Honesty is one of the most important gifts friends give to one another. Many people think that support means saying only nice things that others want to hear. That is not the essence of support. You should be honest with your friend, even if the truth hurts. Even if the truth hurts. You should be able to grow from your differences in a friendship. Be open to diversity. Most of us choose friends who are like us, but when we do have people that just become a surprising friend in our lives, somebody that's complete opposite of us, that should be a learning moment, a growing moment for you. Grow from your differences. And you shouldn't sweat the small stuff. There's going to be a lot of things that your friend does that you don't like. But as a friend, you should overlook it and don't sweat the small stuff. We all have that friend that says they're on their way and they'll be there in 5 minutes, but they're just now waking up and getting in the shower. They're always late. Okay. Are you going to stop being friends with them for it because they're always late to things? Maybe that friend chews gum too loud, or maybe that friend has an annoying laugh. Are you going to stop being friends with them because of the way they laugh? Or your friend likes to talk on the phone too much. He talks too long. I've got a friend that talks way too long on the phone every time he calls. Am I going to stop being his friend over it? No. Accept people's flaws. Accept them for who they are. All right. That pretty much sums up the chapter. Thank you very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that about wraps up another episode of the Communication Lecture Series. You can follow the show by subscribing to the channel on YouTube, the Communication Lecture Series. You can also write your question to our email address, which is communicationlectureseries@gmail.com. I'm very excited to continue this Communication Lecture Series, and I can't wait to have the next episode. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Adam Banks, and I will see you in the next episode.